Hi guys, I am Kamal Ahmed, artist. Lots of people find that blending color pencil is a real challenge and a kind of depth. Cooks get really smooth results with color pencil, but in this video I want to go through an easy trick to ensure that you guys get rid of smooth shading with your colored pencils. Let's go through what this trick is. Okay, so the question is how to blend smoothly with colored pencils. To share this trick, all gone and added a layer of skin time values to my paper, going with vertical lines. We're circling motions as well. We're going vertically. Now the trick is when you blend out the color pencil and you add your final burnishing layer, go in the opposite direction to the direction you initially added your first letters. So when you add your final blending layer, and you will blend out the color pencil going the opposite direction, and as you can see you get a really nice smooth look compared to the first layers of color pencil. When you want to glaze colors after that, if you blend out the color pencils but you want to add a bit more color to it, make sure you using the side of the pencil so that you don't ruin all of that beautiful smooth branding we already did. And so I like to have glazed pinks for blusher and stuff like that. So why blend in the opposite direction doesn't really matter. While educationality of Edison's streaky lines, again my base layer, and I'm first opened in it in the opposite direction, and then I'll go and blend it out vertically. So in the same direction I applied the initial layer, and as you're seeing the top layer where I'm go in the same direction really doesn't blend out that streaky initial lines that we created as much as the opposite direction does. So when you blend in the opposite direction it really does soften everything out. Here is another example of when I did the same thing. On the left I appendages in the opposite direction, and on the right I have gone in the same direction as my initial laser pencil, and the one I go in the opposite direction is so much smoother. Say there's a tips for shading when you add your initial layers. Obviously under mine very strict heathen, so you can see a lot of the difference between them, but when I apply my initial laser collection to the paper I don't actually apply that much pressure, and I'm not that strange with it. You want to be very light-handed with your pencil. You wanna go in light layers and build it up. Don't go and just do it in one layer. Keep your pencils ring ready shop. That is so important. What you don't want to do is very depression that you have some really dark lines. As you can see here, you want to keep everything very constant and consistent, and I will be going free more tips on that later. Or so you don't want to hold your pencil right near the front because it's hard to maintain a constant pressure. You're more likely to get those strength annoyance. What you do is hold your pencil a lot further back so that it helps you have less pressure on the pencil. Now this technique works really well with smooth paper. I love the Bristol strap and the fruit of series paper. It's so smooth and it allows you to get really nice blending without having to deal with all of that white grainy look that you can get with some of the more textured pencils. But all of them tell us that we're going to be using now or linked in description with the colored pencils and all of that sort of stuff. Now that we're going through the basics of this technique, I wanna go in a lot more depth on my techniques for blending out color pencils for my portraits, because I don't mind blending for portraits a lot differently than I do blending for say animal portraits. So the explained in techniques that I'm talking about is great for portraits and anything that you want to get really smoothly. If you do love creating portraits and colored pencils, that I have got a whole course dedicated to helping guys become really realistic and create photorealistic colored pencil portraits. I basically show all of my techniques that you need to know to create superior realistic color pencil portraits. Okay, for studies on nose, facial hair, freckles, skin, I'll show you how to choose colors for skin, how to draw a hair. I've really taken through the process on how to tackle something like this and get realistic, and you will be drawing realistically in no time. Now let's move on to an example of actually me using my techniques in an actual drawing. So here I use this technique I'm going to be talking about for this study. The technique we're using is basically burnishing, and burnishing is a technique that a lot of people know about, a lot of people use. It's a very common color pencil technique, and the important trick that I'm talking about here is blending in the opposite direction, because a lot of people burnish and figures that aren't sure. Burnishing basically means you apply a lot of pressure to your pencil, and apply the pressure to the pencil will help to blend to me colors, but also it gets rid of all of them and bring them the paper. And the main issue with it sometimes that people can find very difficult is that when you're applying a lot of pressure to the paper, you're flattering out the tube for the paper said the texture, and now we accept very difficult to apply laser to the pencil on top which you blended. You finally lay up the pencil because you've got rid of all of the tube for the paper, so there's nothing that the paper can rip onto for the new laser pencil you want to add. And this means that if you make mistakes, it's very hard to go and maybe dark in the pan area and anything like that. Seems really to think about the colors that you want to apply first. And this brings me all to my first tip, which is to build up the layers slowly and also start off with your initial layers having hardly any pressure on the pencil, and then as you build it more or less you can apply more pressure as you are sure that you'll get into a final layer. So don't go in on your first layer and furnish and apply maximum pressure to the actual paper unless you're sure that you want to get a block color. For example, when I did the pupil of the eye, I went in with just black and I burned that out, so you've got a lot of different colors that you need to get in there. So it's important to build up those layers slowly and very likely to start with until you're happy with the colors. Then you can add that final layer over the top to blend it all together. And the main reason the only this video is to talk about going in the opposite direction, because that it is something that I think is makes a big difference to your final result. Lots of people can use the burnishing technique where you add a lot of pressure, but you can get completely different results if you go in the same direction as you did with your initial layers. Then you're gonna get more of a streak. Keep luck wherever it is. If you go in the opposite direction, then if you think about it, you've got lines and streaky lines that you want to try and smooth out. If I'm going with that direction, then you're not ready to get rid of them, you're just going in the same direction as them, so they're still going to be visible. Whereas if you'd blend in the opposite direct FTTION, you're smudging them out, you're smudging those lines as you go in the opposite direction, and so they're going to get less and less invisible. And also when you burn shin, even though you are blending in the opposite direction, still grow insect emotions with your pencil. That's really how good it's smooth. You can go and follow it along with me in real time and learn all of my techniques as well. As guys, I hope you found that little trick useful. Let me know in the comments section, did you find it helpful? If you'd like the video, piece of a thumbs up, and if you're on new round here, why not hit that subscribe button for future tip and tutorial videos. But that is it for me, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching this video.